everybody, welcome back to the next episode of What Were They Thinking, where I take a deep dive look into some of my favorite, most influential licks and riffs and try to get into the head of the player who played them. You just heard me play a very short little sequence of notes or lick from the amazing Yngwie Malmsteen. Now, his first album, Rising Force, was a huge influence on me. I think I was maybe 10 years old when it came out, 11 years old, and it just blew my mind. Absolutely amazing stuff. I wanted to look at this particular lick because this was a lick that was a real staple in Yngwie's playing, and you'll hear him use this in a lot of areas. A lot of different songs. It's something that just kind of creeps into a lot of his solos, but I chose the one little snippet from Far Beyond the Sun. And what this is completely and entirely based around is a diminished seventh arpeggio. Now, a lot of you may have played this before. A lot of you may understand exactly what's going on with it, but there's something very interesting about the diminished seventh arpeggio that once we understand it, makes it very easy to maneuver around the fretboard and play it and incorporate it into our playing. So first and foremost, Yngwie is playing most of this based around the F-sharp harmonic minor scale. And you can tell that by the chords he plays beforehand in this intro part. He kind of hits a C-sharp power chord to an F-sharp power chord, following it up with this run here, which is straight from the F-sharp harmonic minor scale. So he does that little run before he heads into the lick that I played in the beginning. So what does he do there exactly? Well, if you look at the little pattern that he repeats, you notice there's almost a very symmetrical move to all of this. So what is happening here? Well, the really interesting thing about a diminished seventh chord or arpeggio is it's a bunch of stacked minor third intervals. So no matter where we are on the fretboard, if we start on a fret and then just keep climbing 3 frets every time, we will outline diminished seventh arpeggios. Now, what's interesting about that is that there's 4 notes in it. The intervals are the 1, the flat 3, or the minor third, the flat 5, or diminished fifth, and a double flat 7th interval, which could also really become a 6th interval if you want to spell it out that way, but we always call it 1 flat 3 5 double flat 7th. And so what we end up with is a chord or an arpeggio where every note can be the root note, because no matter what note we start on, we still have the same notes after it. So in this little example, you'll notice I use you'll notice in the tab a grace note on the 10th fret. I've seen a lot of people notate this differently, where they count this as a note and they kind of do 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4. I really don't hear that way of notating it. If you download some tabs on the net, that's what they do. I start this off with a grace note. This doesn't really count as part of the rhythmic structure. It's just gracing into this first G sharp note. And then I count it 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. So it's notated with an 8th note rest, then a 16th note triplet, then 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6. And you get that kind of a feel to it, more of a triplet feel to it. And I find that works a lot better for notation and all purposes. Now, if it is slightly different than that, then it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, when you play this really fast, it's all going to kind of go by fairly quickly. Okay, so that's basically the idea. But if you look at it, we start on this F note, which is from our F-sharp harmonic minor scale. So we have all notes from the F-sharp harmonic minor scale. We have F, or in other words, E-sharp in this, because we also do have an F-sharp, right? So we have our E-sharp, G-sharp, B, D, back to our E-sharp or our F. Now, if you notice, when we move this up, all we've done is we've moved this B note from the previous pattern up to B here. So now we have our G-sharp, our B, our D still that was here, up to this E sharp or F note, and now up to our G sharp that we started off with here, an octave higher. So as we see, we move this up, we just reorder the notes. So any one of these notes could be considered the root note. It doesn't really matter at this point. So really, we're just taking a very kind of almost symmetrical shape and moving it up 3 frets. I could also move it down 3 frets. So as you can see, I can really expand this out. Now these shapes lie all over the fretboard. If I move these down to the second, third, and fourth strings, the pattern changes a little bit. It's not the fourth and third and first finger anymore. It's going to be the fourth, second, and first now. If we move it down another set of strings, the pattern changes yet again. So we see these patterns are all over the place, and once we understand that relationship of moving them up 3, then it's really quite simple. So what he starts off with is a grace note. I start with my pinky after this. Pinky on the 10th fret, grace note, quick slide up to the 13th fret or the G sharp. Through our little shape here, B, D, up to our F, pull off, back to our D, back to our B, and that completes our little cycle of triplets or 6 groups of 6. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We get back to our 13th fret. We grace note that into the 16th fret to move into our next pattern 3 frets above. And then we do the same thing. We get back to our 16th fret B here and we grace note that up to the 19th fret. And then we don't complete our pattern. We just a bend up 2 frets on the 19th fret up on the first string. So all together then, or something like that. So really, we're just taking this little diminished 7th arpeggio shape and moving it up and back 3 frets, which is really what you're going to see Yngwie do so many times in so many songs and solos. So really, really interesting stuff. So a really great thing to do is to just get that shape, which is basically going to be, regardless of where we start, let's say we're on the 3rd string, whatever note we start on, we're going to move 3 frets higher, or a minor 3rd interval. We're then going to go up 1 string, with our 3rd finger, 1 fret back from where we were with our pinky. Continue that up and do the same pattern we did down here. It's going to allow you to be able to really work on stringing these little sequences together. And, you know, it's not the type of thing I would want to overdo. You know, it starts to sound a little boring if that's all you hear somebody doing, but it sure is a nice little phrase to throw in. And we can throw these things in to even little pentatonic ideas. One of the things I like to do, I'm in A minor pentatonic here. There's my root note. I like to come back 1 fret, back to an A flat, and come back 1 fret and base the pattern off of that. And there's some pretty cool little interesting sounds you can get from that. So I hope you guys enjoyed that little quick look at that little sequence that was a very short sequence in this episode, but something that can be expanded out much bigger and something that Yngwie used in many, many, many of his solos and many of his songs. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Please like the video, share it with anybody who you think would get some use out of watching it. I really appreciate you spending your time with me. Please subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell notification to get notified when I put new content out, and I'll be back really soon with some more. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Ciao for now.